My name's Malin, and recently I've been reflecting on the things that we don't get taught growing up about becoming an adult. And a few of these things are probably things that you really haven't really thought about much. You've kind of just taken for granted because it just seemed like it made sense at the time, like we go through school, it makes sense, oh, we have to go to school, we have to do these kind of things. But from a young age, I always questioned school. I was like, well, why the hell am I going to this place? Like, why am I doing this kind of stuff? And basically, I just got taught by my teachers, told by my teachers and my parents that, oh, you have to go to school, you've got to be a good boy, you've got to go to this kind of stuff, your parents are paying for it, it's what everyone else does. And then, this is just a part of life, this is what everyone does. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just kind of go through this. And I didn't really enjoy it. Sure, I learnt some things from it. I found some things interesting, particularly primary school where it was a lot more free and you were learning things that actually had use in daily life, like learning to read, learning to write. I like doing kind of drama, that kind of stuff, that school and bits of music. I also liked learning about history, and I loved being in the book club. And then when you kind of go into high school, becomes a bit more serious. Then you got to think about your future a bit more. And for me, I was always looking forward. Like when I was in primary school, I would look to the high school kids and I'd be like, oh my God, it must be so cool to like go to high school and then go on the bus and then do all these things and like be a big kid. And then all of a sudden you're a big kid and you're going through these emotions and then you have to go to school and you're having all these complications with friends, with crushes and with just the high school kind of drama, and you think that that's your life, that becomes your bubble, school becomes your bubble. And I just kind of coasted by. I didn't really like working. I didn't really do much homework. I just I just tried to work as quick as possible so then I could read, because that was basically all that I really liked doing. um, but yeah, as even as a kid, you think growing up like, oh, it's going to be, this is just going to kind of continue, but maybe I'll have more freedom when school ends. But then when school ends, your whole life just like opens up, and then you've got all these possibilities and all these kind of options in your life. And it's like, oh my God, like I was living in this tiny little bubble and I thought that that was the world. And then all of a sudden I go out and I can move anywhere I want in the world. I have to start earning money, otherwise I'm not going to be able to do things anymore. Like you really take that for granted as a kid. Luckily uh, I was basically encouraged to go to work, but then I was saving up and buying things that I wanted to, so it was kind of good. Um, but yeah, then you kind of like, oh, I have to get a job, I have to start making money. So then you kind of just go through the motions and you try acting like an adult, but it's like I don't really feel like I fit into this place. Like it doesn't really feel right, and you're like, oh well, I've just got to keep earning money. I just got to keep working. And for me, the longer that that went on, the worse that it felt for me, because as a kid, as I said, as a kid, I was told that this is important, this is what you have to do. And that did not take into consideration whatsoever what I wanted to do, how I felt about things. And to be honest, I probably would have been a really good candidate for being homeschooled, because then I could have like learned things in my own tempo and learned what I was interested in, because I didn't have a problem with learning at all, not to sound cocky, but I learn things pretty quickly, I catch on to things pretty quickly, and a lot of school was kind of a waste for me, to be honest. And so, like, just reflecting on like adult life, like all of a sudden you're just thrust into this world, and then you've got all these possibilities, and then life just slowly starts ticking by, and then all of a sudden you're 20, and then like I'm turning 23 soon, and that's for me, that's been the biggest number that feels like holy shit, like I'm becoming like more and more of an adult now. Like I thought that my life would be so much more put together, that I would have so many more things put right, and that I'd be in a totally different situation to what I am now. And you can't really change the past, you can't really do anything about it, but just like reflecting on my decisions and how like I've ended up here, and like what sort of how like society has kind of encouraged me to kind of stay in this place in a way. Like I enjoy creating videos, I enjoy doing these kind of things, I enjoy like writing music and doing creative work, but that wasn't really ever a main option for me, because I felt like I had to do work, like I was forced to do school, I didn't want to go, I had to keep going to it. And with that mindset, I didn't think that I would be able to do things that I enjoy doing in my life as much. And yeah, as a kid, you always think that, like, oh, it'll be so great to be an adult. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. And then you realize that there's responsibilities that you have to do. And then in your free time, you do end up doing what you want, but then you feel guilty for it because there's all these other things that you got to be worrying about and you got to be doing, like making sure you have enough for rent, making sure you have enough for food, cooking food, eating well, whether you should be exercising, going out, doing social events, trying to maintain your hobbies. And it all just becomes kind of like this burden. And I've been quite lucky, since breaking my wrist, I've been getting paid by the government basically, getting government paid, and they're gonna pay for training or pay for me to help get me into work, which is a really great opportunity for me. But like I'm still just reflecting, like I haven't really ever enjoyed work and I haven't done work that I want to do. And I've always wanted to do some sort of creative work. I've always wanted to work for myself and do some sort of work for myself and earn an income through that. And I think that's a really hard path to navigate because you can't choose how many people are going to listen to you. Like I can choose to create these videos, but I can't choose how many people are going to watch them, whether I'm saying things right, whether I word it right, all these kind of all these kind of different factors play into whether you get what you want or you don't. And for me, I feel like I've had so many different varying interests and I struggle to maintain consistency through all that. And I think some of that is kind of just maybe natural biology, like, you're interested in something, you get interested in it, and then the next day you kind of need something different. Like one day you feel like you have to be really healthy and then you do that, you feel good for it. And then the next day it's like a lot harder, but then I find myself trying to maintain this state. I'm like, okay, so at this time I felt good when I was doing that, so I just have to repeat that now. I have to copy that now. And the thing is that you can't copy that mind state, you can't copy that mentality, you can't copy those feelings. Because life is really fluid and all you can act with is what you have in the present. And that for me, that's really sucked because, growing up, you think that life is going to be hopeful. You have a lot of hope, you have a lot of innocence. You think that, you can achieve these dreams, you can be special. And as a kid, everything is done with wonder. You have a great imagination. You think about how great things could be. You watch movies and you're super excited by them and moved by them. And you go out and play and imagine being these characters and imagine being like a hero, or imagine being a princess, or imagine me and my brother once, there's photos of us like pretending to be mums with dolls and breastfeeding dolls. That's just really weird. But like as a kid, you don't think about those barriers. You just explore these kind of things. And then as an adult, you kind of get more set in your ways. I've found I've become more and more serious, more and more strict, and you start losing hope because you realize that life is actually really mundane. And to get the dreams that you want to have, to get to be the hero that you wanted to be as a kid, you have to put in so much boring daily work. And it's not sexy, it's not amazing, it's just like this day-to-day kind of accumulation of working on something throughout a long time and then hopefully seeing results in it. And that's like hopefully, like if things turn out right, like maybe you're like me, you get a broken bone, or maybe you're just unlucky, or maybe you work on the wrong skill. Like it's such a daunting thing. And for me, I just wanted to pick the perfect answer. I was like, I don't want to invest so much time into something and then realize like, oh, like I'm just kind of wasting my time. And for me, I spent so much time and effort into soccer. I spent so much time and sacrifice into it, so much time training and learning about it. And then when I went to like play at a semi-professional level, I got completely burnt out because I wasn't prepared for the day-to-day effort and the day-to-day strain on it. And I felt so isolated because I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any support systems where I was. Like I was moving 1,000 kilometers away to a new state and I didn't know anyone there. I was just going out there because it was an opportunity for me to be trained at a higher level. And to be honest, it was a great experience, but like you think, oh, like that's a part of the dream, that's a part of chasing the dreams, and then that's what I thought it was. But I was really miserable because I didn't have any support, I didn't have any mentors, I didn't have anyone to help guide me or to help support me. And I was just further isolating myself because I was expending so much energy doing this daily training and these training sessions and then playing for a team. And I just got so burnt out that I couldn't keep up with it. I was feeling really guilty because I was binge eating at that time and eating a lot of like bad, unhealthy food, like ordering a big family pack from Hungry Jack's and then eating that. And my body needed the calories, but I wasn't realizing that. I was like, oh, I've got to eat healthy. I've got to eat these healthy foods. And my body just needed calories at that point. And I could have kind of had this balance where I was like eating healthy foods, but then allowing like these snacks or like allowing like a burger or two here and there because my body needed that calories. I was expending like 4,000, 5,000 calories a day from this training, which is insane, but my body like burns through calories so quick. And when I play and train for soccer, I don't go easy. Like I'm gonna try and do my best. I'm gonna work through things. And I was also like dealing with a lot of pain in my body. I was having shin splints. Um, I had a knee issue. I had a splinter, not a splinter, I had a blister on the back of my heel, which has turned into like this lump. And just putting on my boots and just walking was painful, but I had to run and play in that. And then, yeah, like that's like part of the realities of like life and chasing your dream, I guess. And I felt like I really didn't fit in with those other people. I feel like I didn't fit in with the other soccer players that were aspiring to be uh, professionals. And sure, I was at the later age and I wasn't as experienced. I didn't have as much experience like from where I am, where my home is. There's not a lot of high opportunities and that kind of thing, and I always kind of missed out on them. Or, um, I was a part of the first under 13s team in my region for soccer or football. I call it soccer because I live in Victoria and AFL is the biggest sport in Victoria. So they call that AFL Australian football rules. They call it footy football. So growing up, I got told it's soccer, it's soccer. So that's kind of ingrained in me. But it's football, le foot. I guess I'm just kind of like reflecting as a kid, you have so much hope, you have so much, uh, you're just innocent and you have these dreams and these wishes for how you want your life to turn out, how you think things are going to turn out. And then, becoming an adult becomes so much more real, so much more difficult, so much more burdensome because, you've got to make a living, but then all of the jobs that you have available to you, if you can get one, are like these really shitty, like hourly rate jobs that are like grinding through things and, just doing the same monotonous task again and again. And what fostered our hope and what fostered our like creativity as kids was having this wide range of activities to do and a lot more freedom, and I think that inspired a lot more hope. And then being forced into like this schooling system and then having like these set regiments, I don't think it's really natural because when I've made more progress in my life, when I've been having the most fun and I've been the most consistent is when I'm having fun, is when I'm enjoying the things and I'm exploring it and I don't feel like I have to do these kind of things. It's like, oh, I can do these things and this is kind of what I want to explore in it. Like this soccer training session looked kind of interesting, so I want to try it. I want to work on it. Like this workout movement looked kind of cool, so I'm going to try it out. Even though like, when I first started working out, I had these water containers and I just fill them up and I just do random exercises and just have fun with that. And I would work out consistently like 4 or 5 times a week without really scheduling it or really choosing it. I would just be like, oh, I'd get home or I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh, I want to try a workout, I want to try this new movement. What if I did that? I'm starting to feel like I'm gaining a bit more muscle, so I want to keep doing this. And then it started to become a burden like these past couple of years. And sure, I had all this extra stress from work and having to do these obligations, but I wasn't really as free in my workouts, and maybe I wasn't working out in a way that I liked to. Like I was trying to do these set long workouts with like so many exercises, and it would just drain me. Like I don't think my nervous system is really set up to deal with those longer workouts. Like I feel like I'm much more suited to like a shorter, quick burn, quick, heavier lifts rather than like these longer ones, which is something that you have to learn through experience and through time. I'm just trying to think about if I'm missing any points that I wanted to make about growing up as you become an adult and kind of the realities of life. I don't want the reality of life to be just working these jobs and, being stuck in this kind of, day-to-day kind of boredom. But I mean, as you get older, things are going to get more boring because you're more used to everything. You've experienced a lot more. You've experienced the same things a lot more. So there is kind of this sense of boredom to it. But when you work on things that you enjoy and you go deeper and deeper into it, that's also fulfilling in itself as well. Like I may be recording basically the same videos that I have 2 years ago, but it's a deeper and deeper process because I've become better at speaking. I've become better at articulating myself. I've had more experiences, and yeah, it's more like a craft that you work on and that builds up over time. And those are the things that I want to work on, where I put a one-time investment into this video and then it's up, and then it can be up for years and years and years, and people can still see that from years on. And it's the same with music, and it's the same with writing a book. And it's probably the same with starting a business. If you start a business and you create this product, then you can have it on there. Like you spend that one-time effort, you create the product, and then it stays on there for like years and years and years, and then can make money over time, which is something that I'm trying to implement into my life to create more freedom and that kind of stuff. But then I'm also like exploring more between discipline and creativity and play, because to be honest, this past week or these past couple weeks, even since I broke my wrist, I've just kind of, even at the start of the year or for most of my life, if I'm to be honest, I've kind of had this feeling of like struggling to find meaning, struggling to find a reason to keep going at times. And it can feel really hard to continue doing things and to want to continue doing things. And I think I keep trying to find like a life that makes me want to keep going, and you just got to keep taking steps towards that and just hope that it kind of eventually works out, and like adjusting and moving things as need be. But yeah, I don't want to just go back into the workforce and then go back to that state and just be draining myself through work rather than using that energy for like creative pursuits, because I tend to fall off YouTube a lot quicker when I'm doing more work, and I tend to do less creative work, and I tend to not eat as well and not work out as consistently when I'm doing that. Yeah, but it's like a really interesting topic about consistency, because I'm just going into totally different topics at the moment, but I'm just going to try and finish my point here and then end the video. Like we're taught through school that you have to be doing these things at certain times, that there's a certain kind of discipline, that there's a certain kind of progression to things, kind of like a video game. And, that topic kind of exists if you want to become good at something, working out or mastering a skill. You have to keep at it, you have to keep working on it and like discipline yourself, because it's this idea of like future, like if you keep doing things, then eventually you will reach that future, like if you're thinking from that point and then you look back, those are the tasks that got you to the point that you wanted to be at. But then thinking of like these old Eastern philosophies that I kind of like as well, that go contrary to that, I'm struggling to find like a balance between these two. Like, how do they fit together? They're totally opposite, but then maybe that's that's because everything needs an opposite, everything needs polarity. But these Eastern topics are like, there's only the present, there's only this moment, and like, we do not live in our heads, we do not live in our thoughts, we do not live in the future or the past. Those are just ideas that we have in our mind. And when you look to nature, when you look to animals, animals are probably smarter than humans because they act in accordance to their nature. They don't need anything else. They don't need any reason. They don't need any meaning. They go about their day doing basically the same things. Birds will fly around, catch a few worms, eat what they need to, mate when they need to. They are amazing at finding, like, when they when they migrate, they're great at finding like the right location. Like, how do they know that? And animals are almost superior because they don't need any reason, they don't need any intellectual ability to do things. And without humans, we wouldn't be doing, they would continue living, and the earth would probably live a lot longer than with humans on it, because we're basically destroying it. We're trying to create all these things. We're trying to create more money, which is just an invention by a human. We're chasing these illusions, and we're working on these ideas and these things that we have created that are kind of fake, to be honest. Anyway, that was a weird way to end the video. I kind of went off topic there, but that's what I wanted to talk about. That's what I've been thinking about. So I hope you enjoyed the video if you watched it to the end. And I'll see you in the next one.